Welcome to Director's Notes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, really thrilled to be interviewing you about this film. Play this at my funeral. Why don't you open up by telling us a little bit about the film?
Yeah, it's a collection of three vignettes, and it's all about people's connections to music. And for me, it was just this idea that, like, obviously artists create music and you put it out in the world and it means all the things to the artist, you know, but to me, there's a thing about like music becoming autobiographical in terms of the audience's perception, where it's like, you know, someone could have made a song about, you know, their girlfriend left them or their husband was awful to them, and they pour out all this emotion, and that song could become super popular. And now, you know, Taylor Swift's greatest heartbreak is some little girl's 10th birthday memory is connected to that. Yeah. And like, that became like that's like a really interesting thing to me, is that it's like, you know, obviously you put art out into the world and then it's gone, and now it means something completely different to anyone who is interacted with it. And so that sort of like juxtaposition was the thing that I was really interested in, was like all these different stories of how a song, be it the intention of the artist in the same emotional space or something completely different, has become ingrained in someone, and that like that song has a very strong connection to a person now.
Yeah, I mean, music is so emotive. I can hear songs that I was sort of listening to 20 years ago, and it brings you right back to that place and that time when you were listening to it. And you can really feel that in the film.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. I mean, for a good amount of years now, I've been doing this sort of like informal project that informed this web series, where I'll go to YouTube and I'll just put in a song that was like very popular about 20 years ago, or longer. And if I just scroll through the comments, like inevitably, I will always find someone who is like, gives this like deep testimonial to like no one in specific, but it's a very personal memory that they have with this song. And it feels like it's the need that people have to just like offload this memory onto the internet. And so for years now, I've been just going through songs, and I'll just have a like Google Word document. I just take the comments and just put it into this document. And I've just been like hoarding those comments for probably 10 years now. But some of those comments helped inform making this series.
Yeah, so well, that leads on to my next question. So it's sort of split into three different parts. You've got the game, the face, and the beat. Mm-hmm. So how did you decide to concentrate on those three different elements?
I had written about 10 of these when I just sat down to write them. And so I was trying to pick the ones that I wanted to actually make. And for me, it was about having a diversity of emotion and a diversity of music. I didn't want to have like 3 rap songs that are all about having a good time, you know, like, so it was like really trying to switch up the emotions and the music. And so having, you know, like a classical jazzy song, having a metal song, and having like a rap song, that there was a good contrast between them, and also feels representative of the type of things that I listen to. So that's basically how I got those. Yeah.
I was reading about your importance in casting and who you wanted to represent. So how did you go about that process?
Yeah, I have a great casting agent who's worked on pretty much everything that I've done, Allison Twardziak. And for me, I just wanted to show people of color, because I think ultimately, I think white people have the liberty of being like musically eclectic, and that's like very expected. But when you go to people of color, it's like you have like the one music that your people make. And then if you come out of that, people sort of generally give you like at least a pause of a second to be like, oh, that's interesting. You like country Western music, but you're Malaysian. Huh. Interesting, you know? And like, I get it on an anthropological level. It is to a degree interesting, but I kind of just wanted to sort of push back against that and have Black people listening to metal, you know, and Spanish people listening to Memphis rap, you know, and just like cross those barriers, because I grew up in New York, I live in New York, and that is just the norm, like
Yeah.
I'm not of Latin descent, but like I have lived around Latin people all my life. So it's like, I couldn't name the fucking songs, but like there's so many fucking, Suavemente is just like fucking stuck in my head. Cars passing by, and, exactly. So it's like that is a real phenomena, and I just was like, let me represent that in this series.
And that came from you personally as well. You said you were the black kid walking around listening to Metallica.
Yes, yeah. When I was in high school, I mean, in junior high school, I discovered sort of like metal and widely rock music, hardcore, stuff like that. But again, I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, so like rap music was already just in my head, soul music, funk, jazz, all that stuff. So I've ended up with a very eclectic sort of taste in music.
So you've got your cast together, you've got your plan. What about your filming? How did you move into the production of it and the 3 different stages?
I shot it all here in New York, which one I just liked. I like to use New York as an extra character on a practical
why wouldn't
sense.
you?
Yeah, exactly. And then on a practical sense, I know New York, so I know where to find, a place that looks like this, a place that looks like that. It was actually fairly easy to pull off. We got permitting and everything, and it was just a couple of locations. The hardest thing to do was probably to shoot in Times Square, just because it is so goddamn chaotic. But actually, I think that helped us because, I'm running around Times Square with a guy dressed as Spider-Man and my DP on an easy rig behind him, and like 5 or 6 people, PAs, trying to get release forms and stuff, but no one remotely noticed because Times Square is just pure fucking chaos. That we ran into 4 other dudes dressed as Spider-Man, so like but yeah, so it was pretty easy to get it once we got it going, and luckily I had a really great team to like pull it all together, and like all up and down the production, everyone really came through and delivered really, really amazing work.
So that scene in Times Square, there's a particular bit where Spider-Man's taking a photo with a family. Was that planned or did that happen?
For that vignette, basically the opening where he's talking to the girl in the mask against the sort of glass, that is an actress. That was planned, that was written, and they ad-libbed a bit on top of that. At the end, when he gets in a car with the girl, that is planned. Everything else is just what happens in Times Square. And we just had like, I was right behind my DP, and I'd be like, yo, look over there, go over there, or I go, Roger, go talk to that girl in that hat, but then I would just have an army of PAs, and like basically as soon as he finished interacting with them, the PAs would come over and be like, hey, we're doing this, can you sign this, and we would move on. But everyone was just very excited to see Spider-Man. I mean,
you would be.
Right, exactly.
So then how did that work going into the edit then, if you had all these different bits of footage?
Because that was the plan, I knew that it would cut together because it would just be music under it. And so that would save us from having to like, because he's not having real long conversations with people. We're just catching a line here or there or a reaction sound. It made it very easy to stitch it all together and just feel like it was documentary and flowing in that way.
What do you have in mind for the future of the film?
Obviously, to try to get it on literally every website in the entire world. Obviously, that's still
small ambitions.
Yeah, small, aim small. But like I said, I've written a bunch of these and have ideas for a bunch more that I haven't put to pen yet. And ideally, I would love to make this as a full-on series, and I think of something like what is it on Netflix? Love, Sex, and Robots.
Oh yeah.
Something akin to that. Not obviously not animated, but something akin to that, where you can have these vignettes that vary in the length of time, but in different types of stories. But yeah, that's ultimately what I would love to do, because I feel like there's a really inexhaustible amount of different types of stories. Like I said, that document that I have from just comments from YouTube is like page 6, 7, 8 pages long. And
Yeah.
that's not me like intentionally finding things. It's just like, oh, this Whitney Houston song is dope. I wonder what someone has to say about this. And you dig through, and then someone tells you a story about being stationed in Germany in 1987 and da da da. And you're like, cool, dude, this is great. Like, I can add my own stuff to this and come out with something that's really cool.
You've got a strong background in advertising.
Mhm.
Do you think that that affected the look of this film?
Having worked in advertising for a hot minute, it makes it so that the bar is very high, because when you've worked on stuff, like I just think about, like, when I put stuff on my website, I'm like, I have stuff on there that has been for giant brands that cost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I'm not making stuff for millions of dollars on my own, but I'm like, I kind of has to look just as good. Like, I kind of can't be like, oh, well, I just made this myself, so that's why it looks like shit. So to me, it's an attention to craft, in the image and the sound and all of that. But then also, I think advertising really developed my ability to tell stories in short form, because 30 seconds, a minute, 15 seconds, sometimes, but that really makes you like, I write something and then I'll go back through it and just like, what can I take out? What can I take out? So that every beat feels essential and feels, like this is moving the story along, or I need that look, and so it really just helps me cut the fluff off of everything and make it as potent as possible.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it shows because it looks so slick. It looks so beautiful. So that really comes across.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of, I got to give a lot of that to my DP, Danny Vignal. He really came through for me, and it was a really nice collaborative effort, because I'm not the most technical director in terms of like, I'm like, yo, you need to go to a 47 instead of a 37 here. That's not me. I
Yeah.
speak a lot in like references and metaphors and like what I want something to feel like. And working with him, it was just such a great collaboration, because I could say, I want to zoom, and I want it to feel tense, and I want this to feel like a horror movie, even though it's kind of funny. And he's like, all right, cool, I need a da 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 da. And I'm like, thank you for translating that into something that's actionable. But yeah.
How do you find the team that you want to work with?
I'm repped by Division 7, and so they have helped me a lot with putting together the team. I had a great producer on this, Luigi Rossi. I had my producers Camilla and David at Division 7, and they just really helped pull all the strings to get this team together. And again, I also try to work with the same people over and over again, because I'm like, hey, if we got it right, we liked each other, none of us are assholes, then fuck it, let's do it again, dude. Like, and like, if nothing else, you're not assholes. You know what I mean? Like, we can eliminate that, but so far everyone's been really amazing, and I've been really lucky to work with amazing people. Yeah.
So apart from the continuation of the series, then what are you working on next?
I just finished writing a feature that I'm very excited about. I don't know if anyone will ever give me money for it, but I'm excited about it. And I also just finished writing a pilot for a TV show that I'm also very excited about. And they're both one of them is sort of a thriller period piece, and one of them is a straight up dramedy comedy in the Barry, Atlanta, the Bear sort of Hulu, holler at me sort of vibe. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of things in the works.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much.